Hello everybody, today I'm going to teach you how to set up your XR interaction toolkit and how to make a basic gun. Now this is just going to help you get introduced to the idea of the XR interaction toolkit and how some of the things inside of it work. As you can see, I did try to record something similar already, but I wasn't too happy with how little I put into that tutorial. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click new. We're using 2020.2.1 F1. We're going to make a 3D project. I'm going to call this VR gun. Now that Unity is open, we're going to go to Window, Package Manager. I'm going to click at the top here and then Unity Registry. Click on this little cog, Advanced Project Settings, and Enable Preview Packages. We're going to scroll down to the bottom and select XR Interaction Toolkit. We're going to just hit Install. Now that that's installed, we're going to click Edit, Project Settings, XR Plugin Management, and we're going to install XR Plugin Management. Now, what we need to do is we're going to select Oculus. Now, if you want to build for Oculus Quest, all you need to do is click this Android and click Oculus. Now that we have all of that installed, we can right click over here, click 3D object and plane. This is just going to be our floor for our scene. I'm going to make a quick material for this floor. I'm going to name it floor and select the checkerboard for the albedo. And I'm going to set the tiling to 5x5 and I'm just going to generate my lighting. Once that's complete, you can right click again, click XR, and you're going to want to choose Roomscale XR Rig. Now, most things in here are already set up for you, but what we're going to need to do is click on the main camera, delete this tracked pose driver, and enable this one here. I'm not sure if this is just an issue I have, but when using that tracked pose driver that comes with the XR Rig, it doesn't work. So I just change it for myself. Now we're going to select both of the controllers. I'm going to get rid of the interactors, the line renderer, and the ray interactor. And I'm also going to get rid of the XR controller and add in the XR controller which says device based. And you're going to need to change the controller node from right hand to left hand on just the left hand. Now we're going to set up something for later on, which will be the grabbing. So if you don't want to grab objects in your game for whatever reason, you can skip this part. So we're going to add an XR direct interactor and a sphere collider. We're going to set the radius to 0.25 and set it to its trigger. That is the XR rig setup. If you wanted to, you could load up the game and you would have an XR rig. I'm going to now teach you how to create hands and how to do the gun. So if you don't need hands for your game, or if you don't need a gun for your game, or anything like that, you can skip this whole section. You are done. So what I use for my hands is this package created by Valent. He's a brilliant VR developer YouTuber, and he's where I learned most of the basics for VR myself. So I'm just going to drag this into our scene. I'm going to be honest, this is the only thing I've ever had to use for my hands. It's just perfect. There is just one thing that I like to change, which is in the models, Oculus hand materials, and I personally like to make it opaque. And you can mess about with the color. I'll make mine a dark gray, for example. And you can go into your prefabs, drag the left hand under the left hand controller and the right hand presence under the right hand controller. Now, if you load up the game, by just clicking play button, make sure you have your headset plugged in for your computer. You should see your hands in game. So I'm just going to come up here and click play. And here you go. We have our hands and they have some nice animations on them. If you press your trigger, you'll pinch. If you press your grip button, you will grip. Quite easy, quite simple, but works very effectively. If you'd like to know how this works, you can go into the hand presence script. I do recommend looking through it. Next, I'm going to teach you how to make your gun. So to start off, I'm just going to make the bullet. So we're going to make a capsule. We'll bring it up to 000, and I'll probably make it 0.1 on all the scales. Now, if you have a model that you'd like to use for yours, you can. I'm also going to create another material. This is just going to be red for the bullet. And you can rename it bullet. make sure that you have it set to 000 on your position. Now we can drag it into our prefabs folder, and you can just delete this from the scene. Next up, I'm going to make a really basic gun model by just putting two cubes on top of each other. So if we go 0.25, 0.25, and 0.5 on the scale, this might be too big, but we can judge that when we actually get into the game. I'm going to make this 0.5 on the X and 0.25 on the others. And this is just a very basic gun model that I'm going to use. We can make another material. I'm just going to call this gun. And I'm going to make it a nice metallic black. Now, there probably is a bit of Z-fighting. You can just lower this or increase it by like 0.001 and the Z-fighting should have stopped, as you can see here. You're going to want to create an empty and name it gun and drag your two cubes inside. Reset this position to 000. And you're probably going to want to drag your gun over to 000 as well, which is the center. I messed up there. You don't really have to put your gun at 000. You can just put it in the scene on top of what I'm going to make as a little table. For the sake of grabbing it, I'm just going to rotate it on its side by 90 degrees. And I'm going to pop it just on top of this table here. Now, I do think this is a bit big, so I'm going to decrease the size. Next, you're going to want to add a box collider and a rigid body. Personally, I set interpolate to interpolate. It smooths out the movement and stops it being jittery sometimes. And we're going to want to add an XR grab interactable. Now here you can mess about with some of these, and it's a good way to learn how it works. It's just mess about with it. You don't need to worry about it saving or not, because if you want to reset all of this, you can just right click and reset. So mess about with the velocity and the smoothing and see what these different movement types do. Velocity tracking, I believe, makes it so you can interact with the environment and stuff. That might be fun to mess about with. Make sure that when you get back to following the tutorial, you right click and reset. If you do want to test, you can now go into the game. Oh. Something small that seems to have happened with my collider is it's messed up. So I'm just going to adjust this. Instead of adjusting that collider, what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to open up this little section here, and I'm going to make two colliders. Now, this basically means that I can drag in the two colliders from these game objects here, and they will be used as the collider for this gun. So now, if we click play and enter the game, you will see that we can kind of grab the gun. Now, there is a few issues, which I'm going to sort out now. The cubes are, we're going to actually reset this position to 000, and then we'll reset this position to 000 and 000. Now, this is going to mess up the gun model, as you can see. So I'm going to just take this top cube here, and I'm going to replace it to roughly where it was. And now you can grab this, and the gun should look normal when it's at 000. It shouldn't be off in the distance, so make sure that it looks somewhat normal when it's here. Now I'm going to move this back to where it was. Sorry if that was a bit hard to understand, hopefully you got the gist of it. And we can now properly grab our gun. The only issue is the rotation, which I'm going to show you how to make look good now. What we're going to want to do is right click our gun and create an empty. We'll call this the grab point. Now, how this works is, as you can see, blue means forward, so wherever blue is facing is the forward direction of your gun. So I'm going to rotate this by negative 90 degrees for mine. It might be different for yours. And we want to grab around this area. And if you now click on the gun and scroll down, you will see this area called attach transform. If you drag your grab point into there and load up your game, you will see we now grab our gun properly. Now, there is one more thing which you can do. Personally, I'm not a big fan of this. I like having my hands. But if you would like to hide your hands when you grab objects, you can select both of your controllers here and select hide controller on select, make sure that's true. Now, when you're in game and you grab an object, I believe that's because we don't have the model prefab created. So if we drag our left hand presence into our model prefab, same with our right hand presence. Wait, sorry, that's wrong, that's my bad there. Go into prefabs, and now drag right hand presence into there, left hand presence into here. Now when you click play, you'll see you still have your hands, but your hands now hide when you grab your object. Finally, I'm going to teach you how to actually make the gun work. So I'm going to add a script to the gun and call it gun. Once this is open, you can just... Hello, Futurist here. My commentary here was not great, so just copy from the screen. So what we're going to want to do is we're going to want to instantiate bullet prefab. And we're going to want to do that at a position. So if we go back to Unity, going to want to create a new empty, call it shoot point, and put this at the barrel of your gun, or at the end of the barrel of your gun. Now here we're just going to put a comma and do shoot point, and we're going to want to spawn this at shoot point.transform. I forgot you're actually going to want to serialize these fields or make them public, either one works. If you remember, we created a bullet prefab. If you drag that into here, and you drag the shoot point over here, that should be good. So we're going to go back to our script, and we're going to say change shoot point.transform to shoot point.transform.position, and then quaternion.identity. Hello, Futurist again. Basically, what I forgot to show you here is that you need to click on your gun, you need to click on activate, and drag your gun script in here, and select your whatever you named your method. So I named mine shoot in the video. As you can see here, it was public void shoot. Make sure it's public and remember the name. If you now go into the game and press your trigger while holding the gun, you should see the bullets appear. So if you enjoyed today's tutorial and you want more, make sure you click subscribe. I will be doing more tutorials like this over the next few days. If you need anything cleared up, just leave it in the comments and I will try to get back to you as soon as possible. And if you have anything in specific that you want to learn, maybe VR movement, which I have planned, so don't bother asking for that, but feel free to ask in the comments.